All right, folks, it is Monday night. It is time for a live Q&A. And if this is your first time, we answer all of your drone questions right here on YouTube. So put them in the comments. We have Jason in the back room that is keeping track of all the questions. We have Ethan and the rest of the production team also helping to put all the comments on the screen. So yeah, let's get started. Let's say hi to a bunch of folks. It's been a busy week. It was a busy week last week. We were traveling to Florida for an event with the National Association of Flight Instructors. Jason and I were out there with Julie, and then we came back, and then it got busy, and then we're busy again this week. So it's good. Time is flying by. So we have, let's see, a lot of folks already in the comments. As always, Thorough Inspired, #1 in the comments. Richard Hooker, Curtis Warden, and we have Tim Voice, After As Media, Gina Mary Photography, Flight Media, Flight FX. I don't think I've seen that name before. Welcome, welcome. We have Bob Rosansky. We have Sergio Lagarzia. A lot of very familiar names in here. Top Flight Drone, New Wave Aerial, Bob Rock, and OK Boomer. We have Mark Lester, James Cox. I think I may have said that name already. Achilles, Scott Jordan, Shane Watkins, Shamim. We have Jillian, our own Jillian from the community. She's right here. We have our friend Sparky from Sparky Video Production. I just reviewed a whole bunch of shorts about our interview we did with Sparky that are going to be going live this week, I think in the following few weeks, because there were quite a few. If you want to learn a lot of good information, check out on our YouTube channel. We'll have those which is where we are right now. We'll have those videos. So I never say this, but by the way, if you want that content and get notification, just subscribe. I mean, you know, it doesn't hurt. It does help us over time. So Evan is here. We have John Burns, Super 8mm1, Peekaboo Drone Service. I don't think I've seen that name either. Retired Fire Chief, also here quite a bit. We have our friend Vic. Vic is here. Just got in the house. Doug is here. Steve Regler is here. Anyways, lots of folks. Yeah, we have the lava lamp running. We remembered to turn it on this week. Usually we forget, and then by the time it's time to do the live, it takes forever to warm up. So, all right, let's get started with Bob Rosansky that says, "Thank you, Pilot Institute. I passed my Part 107 on Saturday with a 95. Outstanding. Love to hear that. Travis says, with the fires out in LA, and of course someone flew the drone into an airplane and damaged it, I wonder why the don't be that guy is going in one ear and out of the other. That's a good question. You know, it's a tough situation. We kind of talked about this earlier on Post-Flight. Post-Flight is the extended news update. It's going to be posted by the end of the show. I heard it's going to be live on the community. So if you want to check it out, make sure you go over there right after you're done. But yeah, it's an interesting situation. Obviously, drone hitting an airplane that is doing a lot of good work in LA to fight those fires, and then is taken out for a few days and can't do the job. So yeah, don't be that guy. I know we said that a lot. We laugh about it from time to time, but please be careful when you fly out there. Also, help people understand the rules. There's a lot of folks that are flying because they just don't know any better. Of course, there's a fire. They want to see what it looks like from the sky. They're not thinking that there could be an airplane flying at such low altitude, and they do fly at very low altitude. So keep them safe. Keep our industry intact is really the bottom line, and stay safe. So. Next question. Achilles says, do you have any information on the Potensic Atom 2 that is being released by chance? No, have not heard, haven't really seen a press release on it. We'll take a deeper look, but typically not the drones that we review on the channel, but we'll take a look and see what it looks like. Sparky says, missed a few weeks, then Greg was playing around last week. I wasn't playing around. Feels like an eternity. Yeah, well, glad to have you back, my friend. We have Evan that says, do you think that the US is going to start producing more UAS? That's a good question. So, one, I hope. Two, it's not a minute too soon. We really need to get on that. Now, I know we have drone manufacturers already in the United States, but unfortunately, none of them are producing drones for consumers. And so there's a big void at the moment. If anything happens to DJI, for that void to be filled, and if we wait for DJI to be banned, if that ever happens, it's too late to get started. So we need people to get started today to start competing against DJI and creating these drones for the consumer side of things, and give all of us a different option. Todd Wilson says, I've been waiting about a month for my Air 3S to be delivered, but it's still being held in custom in Louisville. Is there something that I can do about this? Have they sent you a request for more information? Sometimes they want to get your business number or your social security number. We've seen that a couple times, but we have heard from other folks that their drones are stuck in customs. You can try to find a drone at a big box store and buy it there instead of having to wait and then return that one directly to DJI. It's not an easy solution. It's not an easy situation, quite frankly. I don't know that there's a magic answer as to how you get the drone here. That's something that DJI is going to have to figure out with customs, finding out why these drones are getting stuck. I mean, we know why. They're giving a reason for child labor abuse, we heard recently, and then the Uyghur situation with labor. And so, yeah, I think this is something that DJI is going to have to fix with customs for sure. Richard says, do you expect changes from when the Democrats were in power, now that there's a Republican president, House and Senate, as far as drone and FA policy? So as far as FA policy, we have to understand that the way the FA operates is dictated by the FA Reauthorization Act. We just had one of those. And so if you read that document, it is what the FAA has to do over the next 5 years. And so the plan is in action. There's not really a ton of changes necessarily that the House or the Senate at this stage can really do. Now, they can for the next Reauthorization Act that we will have in 5 years. But and I don't know how long, when they start working on those. I don't know if it's a living document that they keep changing, but I don't foresee a whole lot of changes. Now, obviously, a change in colors, if you want to call it that, means a lot of things. You know, a new president with different policies. How is he going to see the potential ban with DJI? How is he going to? We all know that he's a fan of tariffs, and so how are these tariffs going to be put in place? How is this going to affect what we pay? How is this going to affect DJI? How is this going to affect the ability for American manufacturers to do their jobs? So there's obviously a lot of changes I think that are coming up, and hard to tell exactly what they're going to be. I think we need to wait and see what the final plan is going to be, but I think the tariff is definitely going to be one of those, and we'll see how that has an effect. So I think what the question that I would be asking right now is how does the whole TikTok situation is going to affect the way the DJI ban is getting looked at. And I don't know that I have an answer on that, quite frankly, but I believe there is some implications with what is going on. You know, TikTok going dark for a few hours after they decided to take it down and then bring it back up because of the new president's decision, supposedly. And so we'll see. We'll see if this is a change in the way that the government is going to be looking at Chinese companies, in which case that might be a positive for DJI, or is it not? I don't know. I don't know the answer, but I think it's going to be an interesting year for sure as far as the drone side of things. Gina Mary Photography says, I heard the Mini 3 Pro was being discontinued. Have you heard anything about that? Thanks in advance. I have not heard anything about that, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they were discontinuing the line. There is a Mini 4 Pro available, has been available for a while. There's been rumors about a Mini 5 eventually, but we haven't seen, I don't think, any pictures just yet, so it's still probably a couple months out. But DJI has been cranking those drones, right? We had the Neo, we had the Flip recently, we had the Matrice 4, which is really a Mavic 4 in disguise, if you want. It's a Mavic 4 Enterprise, so I would not be surprised if we see a Mavic 4 next, and then if we see a Mini 5 somewhere down the line. So discontinuing the Mini 3 Pro kind of makes sense. But by the way, you should be able to find that information on the website. Go see if it's still for sale on the website directly. I looked at it not too long ago when we were doing the comparison with the Flip, and it was still on there. And it's fairly cheap right now, actually, because we were trying to decide whether or not the Mini 3 Pro was a better deal than the Flip, because fairly similar in price, but I think the Flip is still a little bit cheaper in this case. Eric says, does the color of the 3-mile strobe matter? Does it have to be white? It doesn't have to be white, but from testing, white is going to be the most visible color. So I do not recommend that you change the color of it, because it's going to be less visible from a distance. And I think that's just the way your eye sees things. I mean, you have green, red, and blue as an option, kind of. I don't recommend having blue on your drone. And in theory, green is the color that your eye is the most susceptible to see. So if I was to change it from white to anything else, it would be green, but I still don't think it's a good idea. So you want to be visible from far away. And so, yep, that's my answer. I'm sticking to it. Doc says, thank you for getting me addicted to drones. Now I can't afford to buy drugs. You are very welcome. That was our goal the whole time. Vic says Mini 3 Pro is there, the Mini 3 is there, the Mini 3 Pro is not there. That would make sense because there's a Mini 4 Pro to replace it. So I would guess DJI wants to push towards that. Steve says, is Remote ID or Trust required for small consumer drones under 250 grams? Good question. Trust is required for any drones that are flown recreationally. Remote ID is not required if you fly a drone under 250 grams recreationally. If you fly it under Part 107, then you have to have Remote ID, but if it's flown recreationally, you don't need it. So no registration needed, no Remote ID needed for sub 250 gram drones flown recreationally, but Trust is always required. Trust is the easiest thing you can do, and you might even learn something. So Trust is, I would recommend not recommend, you have to do it if you fly recreationally, but it's not a bad thing. I think Trust is probably one of the best things that the FAA has done for the drone industry in many, many years. So that should tell you something. Fez360 says, what is the difference between LAANC for recreational and LAANC for Part 107? Not really a whole lot of difference. The difference really, I'll tell you, is in the regulation, the way the regulation is written. But LAANC is LAANC. You're getting a Part 107. You're getting an airspace approval, but they kind of had to do it two different ways in the app just because of the way the regulation is written, if that makes any sense. I don't know that I want to go into a ton of details on that. Retired Fire Chief says, what do you do for lights on the front arm of the Mini 4 Pro? I have two different sets and I think they are too big for the arms. Yeah, on the Mini 4, I mean, I would just have one light on the Mini 4. I would put it on top. Now remember, the strobe light on the drone is designed so that you can be visible from other people. And so it's not designed for you to see the drone. It's designed for manned aircraft that are flying higher than you to see the drone when you're looking down at night. And so, or looking down or looking at the same level. So keep that in mind. I don't know that I would put more than one light on the Mini 4. That's just my opinion. James says, in addition to the white strobe light, a lot of questions about lights. In addition to the white strobe lights, where do you recommend as a source for the red and green light? So if you have a larger drone than the Mini, if you want to put lights on the side, I would attach them to the arm. You can 3D print a little arm mount for those lights, or you can use rubber bands or whatever, something that's going to secure it to the light itself. They also sell some adapters for that, but I would put them on the arms in the front. Just be careful that the propeller still clears. We did this. We used to fly a much larger drone that we built, that we have since retired, but we used to put those lights at night because it was harder to see which orientation it was in, because it was an octocopter, so it had 8 arms and 8 motors. So I would recommend, finding a way to put those on the side of the arms and secure them quite well. Okay. James Andrew says, in addition to the white strobe lights, where do you recommend as a source for... No, I just read that. Eric says... Oh, no. Yeah, Eric says, today ended the constant Delaware TFR. Yeah, I'll need to create one in Florida. So you lose one on one side, you gain one on the other. Jason says, I have a question for you. I do a lot of fishing for my YouTube channel just for fun. Can I use my drone for fun and on 44809? So you want to film yourself, I'm guessing, fishing and then post it on YouTube? I mean, that's a recreational activity. I would just be careful that your YouTube channel is not monetized. Now, keep in mind, that would be my answer. It's always a bit of a gray area when you start saying, well, I'm filming myself for... It's technically no longer recreational, but I don't know that anybody would look at that. So it's, I would say it's probably fine. Has the FA eliminated the breathe in the bag response for hyperventilation yet? No, it's still in the PHAC. We don't teach it anymore, but it is, as far as I know, it is still one of the answers on one of the questions with the FA. So we tell students that we teach it because it might show up in the question, but that it's the wrong answer in real life. Peekaboo Drone Service says, I am afraid to buy any more DJI drones due to the potential ban. That being said, what would you recommend second to DJI? Well, that's a tough one. There's not really second to DJI. Second to DJI is Autel, which is in the same waters as DJI. I would not be afraid at this stage to buy a DJI drone because of a potential ban. Keep in mind, none of the proposed drone bans that we have seen have a ban for existing drones. It's only for future drones. So if anything, it is a good time right now to buy a DJI drone if you believe that there's going to be a ban, because then you can still buy them. So Vic says, Aerial Pixel has some great strobe mounts for drones. So Dutch Oven says, any recommendation for a remote ID module to go on the Neo other than the drone tag? Jason, do we have another recommendation? The drone tag Mini, I think, is what we recommend. Oh, the Z, what is it? ZRID? The Zing is fairly heavy. Drone Tag BS. Yeah, but he says other than Drone Tag. The Drone Tag BS is pretty small. And I think that's what we use on ours. The Zing Remote ID, I think is fairly heavy. I don't know that the Neo would do too well for that. Backyard Botany says, how does insurance work if you are PIC for another drone company? It depends on their... waiver. I mean, it depends on the way their insurance is written. So I would ask them if you are covered as a drone pilot if you operate one of their drones. Yep. I'm trying to think of anything else to say about that, but I mean, yeah, that's what I would do. I'm just trying to think if you're operating on their behalf or you borrowing their drone. How does that work? Because if you're operating for yourself while borrowing their drones, then you should be adding that drone to your insurance policy. If you're operating on their behalf, their drone, then you should be on their insurance policy. Hope that makes sense. Dan Bull says, I just took my first practice test with Pilot Institute 107 and scored 90. You're on the right track. Thanks for putting together a great study guide and program. I'm still studying to prepare for the 107 test, which is upcoming soon. Awesome. Well, 90 is a good start. Get a couple of these and then you'll be ready to go. Who has the best commercial insurance for drones? Best depends on your operation. Okay. There are a couple people out there that have insurance. So I would shop around. I don't know that there is always going to be one that's cheaper than the other. I mean, same for your car, right? You can get different rates in different states. It depends if you want a yearly plan, if you want a monthly plan or daily or per flight or whatever it is. That's what I would look at. Vic says, I'm using the Ruco R111 for my Neo and it works fine. There you go. Recommendation straight from the pros. The Ruco, yeah, and First Medic says the same thing. Ruco RID is only 14 grams, $20 to $25. Is that really how much it is? Huh. It's come down in price. Wow, I didn't realize there was one that cheap. Is that FAA approved? I don't think this has come up on our radar. 20 to 25 bucks. That's where it should have been this whole time. But we were always told that it's not possible to make a remote ID module for that price. Have we been lied to? No way. All right. Island Time says, why isn't anybody questioning that the Mini 3 hit the plane? The picture of the drone in the evidence bag showed pretty much intact drone, other than the broken arm, and no heat damage, no paint transfer. I think you can question all you want, but at the end of the day, people that say that a drone this size cannot make this amount of damage have not been in the aviation industry long enough. A drone this size can 100% do this kind of damage to a wing when you know how a wing is constructed and when you know how fast this aircraft was going or is going in general. There's a lot of things in here. I think saying that a drone can't make that kind of damage is just ignorant. And I hate to call somebody ignorant, but it is ignorant because it is entirely possible. I have seen birds when I managed flight schools. I managed flight schools for 13 years. I've been flying airplanes for 22 years now. I've seen small objects make a lot of damage to a wing. And it wasn't a wing as big as this drone, as this aircraft was. So it is entirely possible. Please don't say things like that online. If you're not an expert in this field, don't make statements like that. It really, quite frankly, annoys me a lot when people say that. Bob Jones says, what is your favorite image stabilization software? Is Gyroflow good? Or how about color grading? What do you use? Image stabilization software, not really something that we use on a regular basis because most of the drones that we fly are already fairly stabilized. Gyroflow we have used in the past because we were flying FPV and we had to stabilize footage. So yeah, Gyroflow I would say we have used with the right amount of tweaking. You also have to collect the data. You need to have some sort of gyro data, obviously gyro flow from the camera that you're using. So not all cameras are going to be able to do that, but I'm sure you're probably familiar with this already if you're asking questions about that. So as far as color grading, Vic says Greg has people to color grade. Yes, I do. Doesn't mean I don't know how to do it because to get to where I am, I had to do color grading myself. Color grading, you've got really three options the way I look at it. Final Cut, Adobe Premiere, and then DaVinci Resolve. I've never used DaVinci Resolve other than just looking at it quickly, but from what I've gathered, it's probably the best tool for color grading. We do just fine using Final Cut Pro. This is the tool we've used forever in our studio. So yeah, that's what I would recommend. But it's the same with editing software. we have employees in the company that use Premiere. We have employees that use Final Cut. Every software has its pros and cons. So we use Premiere for certain things where we think it's more appropriate. And then we use Final Cut for other things where it's more appropriate. We do a lot of multicam. We believe Premiere is better for multicam than, Final Cut is better for multicam than Premiere. So we use that. But there are other things where we need to use After Effects. Then it's better to use Premiere because it talks to each other. So there's a lot of things, going on with that. I would say pick a software that works for you, learn it to the best of your abilities, and then never look back. You'll hear people say, well, this software is always better, blah, blah, blah. I don't know, blah, blah, blah. There is not a single thing that we have done in this company, and we do a lot of content, where we have ever been limited by either software that we use. So, we have a workshop coming out in about a week. Yep, and we do have a workshop in premium community talking about color grading. Actually, Ethan, one of our production member, which you're familiar with, if you watch us on a regular basis, he's going to be teaching how to do color grading, how to get your footage recorded correctly from the drone before you do that. There's a whole process to do that. Next question. Dixie, hold on. There's somebody said they bought a Holystone RID module for $890. It's $89. I'm sure it was a typo. And now it's $30. Really? Jason, we need to do a new video on Remote ID module. It looks like the price has dropped a lot. I found it for 26. 26. Which one? The Ruko? Yeah, $26. Jason said he found it for. Man, and we were told they couldn't sell those for less than $60. Funny how that works, huh? Anyways. At $20, it makes sense. At $20, at $30, it makes sense. At $50, it never made sense. And then at $200, it never made sense. But anyways. All right. Next. Dixie says, Dixie Aerial Photography, has the FAA put out any publication on flying with the Avata 2 with goggles and being in VLOS compliance? Well, the publication they have out is 107.31, which is the regulation that talks about visual line of sight. So in order to fly a drone with FPV goggles, you need to have a visual observer. It's really that simple. So if you look at 107.31, there's two parts to the regulation. One part that talks about being able to see the drone at all times. And then there is one part that says who needs to be seeing the drone or looking at the drone at all times. So if you have a visual observer, you can qualify for both parts of 107.31 and be compliant. Technically, in the United States, you cannot fly FPV by yourself, as per, and be compliant with the regulation. I'm not going to say if it's safe or not, because there you go, but yeah. Do you think the DJI Flip is good for indoor filming? Architecture firm asking to show off their new project. I don't know. I would fly a Mini with prop guards before that, although, well, I don't know. Vic, I know Vic has one. He said he has one. So, Vic, do you fly it indoors? I guess that's my question. The Flip camera did pretty good. We have a video coming up on the quality difference between the Mini and the Flip. So if you wait a little bit, I haven't reviewed all the footage. That's why I'm hesitant to make a statement. I haven't reviewed all of the difference. Jason, have you reviewed all of it? Can you comment on the quality between the Mini and the Flip? Reviewed all of what? On the quality of the Flip versus the Mini? I go for the Mini. Okay, Jason said he would go for the Mini. Jason recorded all the footage earlier this week, so he said, yeah. Vic says he flies the Mavic 3 Pro inside. Okay, all right. Yeah, I would go for the Mini over the Flip for sure. Now I know it's a big price difference. So, yeah. I wonder what kind of range the Ruko 111 transmits. Doesn't matter. hate to say it this way, but it doesn't matter because the FAA doesn't have a range distance minimum. So I would like to do a second round of testing using newer. We did a round right before Remote ID went live. We had 6 or 7 different Remote ID modules, and we tested them with some with luck, some without a whole lot of luck. I would love to see anything else. Is there a Holy Stone drone that could avoid obstacles? Not familiar enough with their line of drones to comment, so I'm not sure. Maybe somebody in the comments can help with that. Mark Preston says, are there any further companies making Remote ID included batteries for larger than 249 grams? Yeah, there's a lot of companies out there. I mean, Mark, the one that we just mentioned, the few couple that we mentioned, they would fit really well on a Mavic or an Air. So, by the way, hold on. Hold on. Most of the Air series, unless you have one of the first few ones, has Remote ID already. Same for the Mavic. So Mavic 2 and 3 have Remote ID. And then the Air 3 and the Air 2, only the Air 1, the Air 2S, I'm sorry. Air 2S and Air 3 have Remote ID. Where's my cheat sheet? I don't remember if the Air 2, I don't think the Air 2 has Remote ID. So yeah. Vic says the Ruco doesn't transmit very far, 100 to 150 years. That's pretty far. Yards. 100 to 250 yards. So not bad. Not bad. All right. Are those light years, Vic, or just regular years? Dan Bull says the DJI Flip, you mentioned that the Remote ID was active but disappeared after switching to the US format. Do you think they will allow for activation of this feature? They can't. So they're not allowed to have a switch to turn on or off Remote ID in the drone. It's called the tamper-proof thing in the regulation, and so they're not allowed to do that. The reason, it's really funny because the only reason I know it has Remote ID somewhere in the line of code and it's being turned off is because when we first got the drone, I literally turned it on the very first time inside of this studio, which has a very thick ceiling, and we couldn't get a GPS signal. So for a few minutes, the first thing that I clicked on the status to see if it broadcasted Remote ID. And I yelled at everybody in the office. I said, it has Remote ID, it has Remote ID. It's a category 1. We were all excited because that's the video we were going to make. Literally, the whole video was going to be around the fact that this is the first Remote ID, a category 1 drone, blah, blah, blah. And then we go outside, we turn it on, and then I'm like, I'm going to check and see what the Remote ID status is. And then it was gone. So I emailed my contact at DJI and they said, well, it has Remote ID in the countries where it is required to have Remote ID. And so obviously in the US, it is not available. It is not required to be in the drone because it's sub 250 grams. So there you have it. But no, to answer the question, I don't think it's going to be in the United States. It's going to be available as a feature unless DJI creates a pro version that has it on all the time. And if you're a Part 107 pilot, you want a category 1 drone, then you buy that. But I don't know that DJI will make it happen. I did tell them. So Formerly Film Photography says, how close are you on the Air 3S deep dive? It's coming out this week. I just did the final review today of the draft, and then Ethan is making the changes, and then we're going to publish it later this week. So it's right around the corner. It's really good. It's probably one of the best deep dives we've done so far. So, quick question, does PI ever host any public events like drone parties or anything meets and greets? We have not done that historically unless we're traveling somewhere, and then we do that with a few members. But we are hoping to have an event this year. That's all I can say so far. So, yeah. Would you recommend the Flip over the Neo? Flipping over the Neo? Yes, I would definitely recommend the Flip over the Neo. I think the Neo is... It's for the folks that are watching us, typically, it's as entry level as it can get for a drone, where it's still going to fly. It's likely to crash into the wall like a $20, $30 drone from Amazon, but it is a very entry-level drone. So I still recommend it. Anybody that wants to really, just as a beginner, to learn how to fly this, for kids, to get kids involved, to get whatever, I think it's a great platform. But that's that. Next. Blue Drone Blues says, in the state of Nevada, they try to control the airspace by telling us pilots that we need to be 250 feet to fly over private property. The FAA controls airspace, not individual states. Correct. Federal law overrides state law in regards to airspace. How do states impose these laws legally? They don't. That's the thing, is they're not legal. And so they need to be, you need to talk to your representative, and you need to maybe even try to get the FAA involved. The FAA has a fact sheet that they put out where they talk about control of the airspace and all of this. I don't have a link. I don't know if Jason has a link that he can put in the comments, but yeah, not something that they can do. Paul Donovan, and by the way, I'm going to go back to this for a second, because what we see a lot is the clauses that talk about flying over private property always at the end, almost always at the end, have a few extra words that said for, how is it worded? It says for surveillance purposes. Sorry, I had a brain fart. For surveillance purposes. And so those few words right here are kind of big keywords, right? So if you're just flying over a property and you're just flying by, it's not surveillance. The state would have to prove that you were conducting surveillance. Be sure to check if that language is in there. Yeah, because otherwise, yeah. I hope that makes sense. Paul Donovan says, considering purchasing a Matrice 4T, okay, to get some more capabilities, does it totally supersede the Mavic 3 Pro? Is there any reason to keep both? It's a different platform. The Mavic 3 Pro is going to be more of a... So keep that in mind. The Mavic 3 Pro has a 4/3 sensor. If I remember correctly, the Matrice 4T the thermal version does not have a 4/3 sensor. It has a smaller sensor to capture footage. So the Mavic 3 Pro I would see more as a photography, videography kind of drone. The Matrice 4T is going to be more of an enterprise drone where you have thermal, where you're not really collecting footage to share the footage, if that makes any sense. It's got great capabilities, but it's not a photography, videography drone. I hope that makes sense. Vic says, to add to what I said earlier, and the statute has to define surveillance. Yes, yes. Vic says, North Dakota is also trying to do the same thing with ranches and feedlots. We have seen that in Texas before as well. So, next up, Nerd in Space Nerd. Nerd in Space Nerd, okay. What's better, the Mini SE1 or the Neo with a remote? Whew. Oh man, that is a tough one. I don't know how to answer that. I mean, the Mini SE1 is getting old. It's got Wi-Fi connection. So, and the Neo has a better connection than that. So I would probably say the Neo, as far as downlink, it's going to be better quality. But yeah, the Neo mostly because it's newer. I think the Mini SE probably will do a little bit better in the wind, although that's probably a close tie. I don't know. The Mini was, the original Mini was not, it was an okay platform, let's put it this way. And I think the camera is probably going to be better on the Neo, even though the Neo camera is not great either. Okay. Raphael, wait. Raphael says, first time drone owner, waiting for the flip, get my trust certificate. Just be sure I don't need to contact the FAA for approval to fly an open field around my house. So, Raphael, what you would need to do is download an app called Aloft Air Aware or Air Control, one of those two. And then when you pop up the app, it's going to tell you if you need to have approval. And even better, it's going to allow you to get approval right there. So I would say, yeah, take a look at that. That's how you know. Nerd says, does anyone remember the Parrot Bebop? Yes, I do remember the Parrot Bebop. Memorable for many reasons. Old man droning, not drowning, droning. How is it that county parks can restrict their airspace? I thought the FAA controlled that and counties and individuals have no say. So more than likely is that your county is restricting takeoff and landing from the park. They're not restricting airspace access. So if they say that you can't fly over the park, then they're in violation. I mean, they're not allowed to do that. If they're telling you that you cannot take off or land from the park, then they're allowed to do this because they're the landowner and they can control what you do on the land. So, but if you fly technically from outside the park over the park, they can't say anything about that. James, and I'm not saying that you should do that, but there you go. James Andrews says, trying to decide on buying the Air 3S from DJI directly or Adorama that comes with some extra for the same price. Any downside in getting from any other source than DJI? Well, in normal times, I would say not really a difference between the two, but because of the issues that we've seen at customs, I would buy directly from a US reseller at the moment because you have more chances of getting it. So yes, I would definitely get that. Derek says, are there exceptions for the VLOS rules if you are using an FPV drone? No, I answered that question earlier. I don't know if you heard it, but no, there's no exceptions to the VLOS. So you always have to have a visual observer with you. If you're flying recreationally, the FAA says that the visual observers needs to be co-located, meaning they need to be right next to you. Under Part 107, it's a bit more complex, but they need to be in direct communication with the pilot. So we've done it before where we have a visual observer located on top of a hill because it gives them a better view of potentially upcoming traffic, a better view of traffic in general, and then they are in radio communication, but that's only allowed to be done under Part 107. Wow, we have answered all the questions. I don't think that's ever happened before where I ran out of questions. We've already answered 40 questions. So if you have more questions, put them in the comments and I can take a quick break. Woo, that's awesome. Let's see, what's going on in the comments? Vic asking for more thumbs up. Yeah. I haven't fly a Parrot Bebop too. Awesome. How are we going to close the door on people buying a drone from a retailer and not being told that they need a trust to fly? So this is a battle I've been fighting for a long time. I proactively reached out to a drone manufacturer many years ago, a big drone manufacturer, second biggest drone manufacturer, I would say, and said that I would pay to put cards in the box that explains the rules and that they have to take trust. I would pay for it. It's zero cost to them. And they said, what's in it for us? That is literally the answer I got from the CEO of the company. And he said, what's in it for us? And I was dumbfounded. And so I said, screw you. I didn't say that, but I thought about it. What the hell, right? So I'll do that with any drone manufacturer that is listening. I will pay for the little pamphlet that goes into the drone box to help educate people. That includes DJI because we need to do that. The best part, well, best, worst, I don't know how you want to look at it. It is already required by the FAA. There's a section, I'm pretty sure it's 2203 if I remember. It might be wrong, but there's a section that the FAA passed as part of the previous FAA Reauthorization Act that requires manufacturers to have pamphlets inside of the drone box, but it's not being enforced. So there you have it. Brody says, are the DJI Refurbished Mini 4 Pros worth getting, or should I get the brand new one? I've never bought a refurbished drone from DJI, but I'll tell you this. I've bought a ton of refurbished equipment over the years, whether it's computers, whether it's mostly computers, tablets, whatever it is, saved a ton of money and never ever had a single issue with them. They all come with a guarantee if you buy them from the manufacturer directly, and lasted forever. I mean, I replaced them because they became obsolete, not because they stopped working. So granted, a lot of it was Apple, which has great quality product, but yeah, I've bought a ton of refurbished stuff and never get burned. So your experience might be different, but yeah. Look at that. It is 2203. Jason just put a link in the description if you want to go take a look at this thing. Jillian says, what is your favorite color? You know what my oldest son says? He says rainbow. He loves all the colors, so he can't pick one, so he just says rainbow so that he has all the colors in there. I would say a nice dark blue, like that would be my favorite color. What ground school would you recommend to study for the Part 107? That's an easy answer. Pilot Institute. We'll put a link somewhere in the description, Mike. Yeah, there's only one ground school that you should be taking. It's the #1 ground school. It's ours. We've trained, I just looked, like 115,000 people for Part 107. So it's like almost twice as much as the next school out there. Northern Drone Guy says, any advice for flying Frozen Lake? Ooh, Frozen Lake. Yeah, warm up your batteries. I would say keep them in your jacket until you're ready to go fly. Don't fly too low to the ground. It's going to be the same as a lake, a water lake, not a frozen lake. The sensors, the bottom sensors, don't do very well with patterns that don't change. So snow in general is all white with very little variance. Those sensors don't do well. So the drone has a tendency to start to drop in altitude as you fly forward. Some people lose their drones in the water because that's what they do. They fly, and then all of a sudden the drone clips the water because the bottom sensors don't do well. So, but yeah, other than that, yeah, temperatures, watch your battery temperature, watch your battery voltage. It's going to go a lot quicker. It's going to drop a lot quicker. So be careful. Seems like a lot of folks are saying that the DJI Refurb are upvote. So Vic, we have Scotty. I saw somebody else also said that. Yeah. Super 8mm1 says, is DJI Terra good for mapping, or is there something better? Yeah, Terra is good. I mean, again, it's one of these things. I don't know if there is a better option. It really depends on what you prefer. It's kind of like the editing software kind of thing. I would say give it a shot. Give it a shot to different platform and see what works best. But there are some other options out there for sure. I have to ask the Super 8mm1, is it 1 because Super 8mm was taken without the 1? I'm curious. I've been wondering that for a while. Sparky says, I've bought over 60 refurb from DJI and never had an issue. Wow. I know why Sparky bought 60. I don't know that I can say why he bought 60, but it's not because he crashes a lot of drones, but he had a contract for a while. Anyways, if I buy a drone from Adorama or any other source other than DJI directly, can I get the insurance from DJI? Yeah, you can get DJI Care Refresh regardless of who you buy it from. Lens Capture Online says, wasn't it a real miss for DJI not to include Remote ID on the Flip with the camera quality equaling the Mini 4 Pro? Well, I don't know. You may have missed what I said earlier, but DJI would have pissed off another bunch of customers if they put it on. Let's put it this way. But yeah, if you want to hear my whole explanation, I mentioned that earlier. New Wave Aerial says, is there an ASTM parachute for the Mavic 2 Pro or Mavic 2 Enterprise? Not that I know of. Not that I know of. David says, I do not see flight restrictions over the football stadium for the NCAA championship game tonight on Sky Vector. Sky Vector is unlikely to have the stadium TFRs. So stadium TFRs are a bit of a pain in the butt because they're issued with all TFRs are issued via a NOTAM, a notice to air mission, and the stadium TFRs is a blanket NOTAM that issues technically hundreds of TFRs across the country, but doesn't put them on a map. So in most cases, software have a very hard time, software like Aloft or like, who are we talking about now? Sky Vector have a hard time putting all of those in there. So you have to read the NOTAM. You have to make sure that it applies. Now, with that being said, I don't think the NCAA championship qualifies for the stadium TFR. Sorry, I have the hiccup. Reread the NOTAM for that. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I'm sure somebody will make a comment. I'm pretty sure NCAA championships are not covered in there. This is when I need to have my computer here so I can do research. Sparky's, no, I've already said that. Roaming the Americas, do you have a resource or tip for applying for OOP? Yeah, there is I think I saw Jason putting it in a comment earlier. Vic put out a great article on how to get the BVLOS waiver. It has a link inside of his article to the video that we made to go along with it. So both of these documents together will really help you to do that. Okay, NCAA Division 1, it is included. Okay, so I take that back. So NCAA Championship is in there. Doesn't mean that Sky Vector would have it necessarily in there. So don't fly, because there is more than likely a TFR in place. It's just not published. And this is something that I'm part of a group called the Drone The Drone Advisory Council. Sorry, I'm part of too many groups. Part of a group called the Drone Advisory Council. And this is something that we have been working on to try to convince the FAA to do it differently. And so we'll see if we're successful, but the stadium TFRs can be very tricky for folks. Okay. Next. Fielding Smith says, just joined, so maybe you already covered. If Part 107 is required for commercial purposes, how are all of these US creators, reviewers getting away with saying that the Flip is great for content creators? Well, I mean, it is great for content creators. You can put a module on top of it and still fly it to be legal. So, yeah, I mean, I know what you're saying. There should be an asterisk that says with a remote ID module on it. Yeah, possibly. I mean, we try to mention these things in our videos as much as we can. At the end of the day, it's up to the operator to know, but it doesn't mean you can't use it under Part 107. You just need to have a module on top of it. And then what it does is it makes it over 250 grams, which means it's no longer a category, well, it's not a category 1. So, okay, next, IHACB. Whatever that means. Any word on if DJI is going to fix the flyaway issue with the Neo? I haven't heard anything official on that. I have heard that it has a tendency to fly away. I don't know if it flies away because of the wind. It doesn't do great in the wind, and then people just fly it when it's too windy, or it's an actual real flyaway. It's been a few years since we've had drones that DJI drones, I should say, that fly away. Back in the Phantom days, the Phantom 1, 2, I don't remember if the 3 was like that too, but the 1 and the 2 were specifically pretty bad with flyaways. So you would end up with a drone just doing something of its own at one point. That was not good. But lately I haven't really heard until the Neo, but yeah. David says, is there a better update site instead of SkyVector? I mean, the official site for TFRs is tfr.fa.gov. That's what I use. I use ForeFlight, which is unfortunately a paid subscription for many aircraft pilots. That's what I use. But keep in mind, for this specific issue with the Stadium VFR, there's not going to be a whole lot of platforms that actually display the actual TFR for a Stadium TFR. Oh, Vic says the flyaway issues is basically when flying with the phone only. Well, yeah, and that's because the phone only is a Wi-Fi connection. And so if you fly in an area that has a lot of Wi-Fi interference, let's say you're in the middle of a city where there's a ton of Wi-Fi routers in houses and things like that, then yeah, it's gonna fly away. So Baron says 3D mapping. Is 3D mapping in my program a CPU intensive or GPU process? I did one the other day and it appears to be all CPU and I thought it would be GPU intensive. That's a damn good question. I'm pretty sure it is CPU intensive. I'm trying to think why it would be GPU. Yeah, I think I would agree with that statement that it is mostly CPU. Where is our mapping expert when we need him? Okay. Sergio says, anything new with geofencing update on DJI drones? We have a video coming up soon. We were hoping today, but we had a delay. I think Wednesday we'll have the video up on that. Not a ton of changes other than it's a lot simpler. So, you know, geofencing is still here. I've seen articles out there that say geofencing is gone. It's not gone. Geofencing still exists. Geozones still exist. The geozones have been simplified. That's really what happened. So geofencing is not gone. It's still there, just slightly different. Control-Alt-Delete for Task Manager, and it eats my RAM. Yep. Control-Alt-Delete. That's your problem right there. I'm a mad guy. That's a mad joke. All right. Is the removal of flight restriction in national parks legit or a rumor? Oh, no, it is not legit at all. Because DJI doesn't let you fly, lets you fly there now, doesn't mean that you can fly there. So no, the restriction to fly at national parks is very much still a thing. So do not fly at national parks. You will get your equipment confiscated and you will get a fine from the park rangers. Currently studying for Part 107, says Anthony. Then what drone should I get after the test? Depends on what you plan on doing. There's a ton of options. So yep, no NPS flight removal restrictions. Correct. Jared is probably in hibernation today as it is all the way up to 32 degrees now. That's funny. Yeah, those Texas guys, when it gets to like the 40s, they don't know how to deal with it. It was 17 at my house this morning, which is cold for us, but really not that cold for the rest of the world. But yeah, that's about as cold as it gets around here. I mean, we get a couple days a little colder than that, but it's about as cold as I want it to be anyway. So I was able to get out like this to go to the Y and then come out and then get in my car, and that was just good enough. Okay, DJI Terra uses mostly my CPU power, but they say using an NVIDIA graphic card, the processing speeds will be a little faster. Yeah, maybe it can use some of the GPU power to help with that. -2 in Denver. Is that in Celsius or in Fahrenheit, Vic? In Fahrenheit, it's not good. Anything negative in Fahrenheit is not good. Yeah, -2 is a little bit... I don't think I've ever been in -2 weather, and I don't want to be. I don't think I've ever been in that cold. I don't think I've been in negative weather. So, all right. Well, folks, we have 2 minutes to go. Any final questions? Put them in there. Otherwise, we're going to end it. And we have a busy week. We have quite a few videos that are in the pipeline right now that we're finishing up. So it will be interesting. If you're on a YouTube channel, you'll see that. If you're on, What else? Vic, call me a wimp. I'm okay. I don't want to get cold. I don't want to get cold. FA needs an easier way to report illegal drone activity instead of the FSDO. Yeah, the FSDO is how it is. -7 in Illinois without the windshield. Nope. That's a nope. That's a nope. Nope, 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 nope. You haven't lived until your eyelashes have frozen. Nope. That's a nope. No, thank you. All right. That's it. We're going to end it. We are going to be here on Friday morning with a news update. We'll be back on Friday night for the live in the community. Join us with happy hour. And if not, I'll see you next week, next Monday. And have a great week. Don't be that guy. Fly safe. And we'll see you then.